Good morning, class. Welcome to day 4 of our online distance learning. It's Mr. Martinez again. Today's Thursday, April 2nd. We're going to jump right straight into this. I want you guys to first get out your study guide. We're going to go straight into reviewing the answers to the next 4 pages of your study guide. Alright, so at this time you should have paused the video, gotten out your study guide, and you should have a study guide that's complete. It looks something like this, but I'm going to walk you step by step through what you should have done for your study guide. Okay, and so for page 1 of today, what you should have done is looked at question 21, where it's asking what conclusions can you draw about world regions using the data from the map above. Draw conclusions about at least 3 world regions. Okay, key word here is regions. And so one of the first things you want to do is label the regions of the world. If you have not done so, please go ahead and pause the video and do so at this time. Some key things I want to point out is that we're going to see Australia labeled as Oceania because Oceania is the region where Australia is the continent. Okay, just something you want to know. So three conclusions I came up with, and you could have come up with different ones. Where that was one, North America has high employment, and the reason I put that is because according to the chart here, it has high GDP, right? North America's GDP is really high. And so that tells me a lot of people are working, they're getting good jobs, they're getting good pay. The second conclusion I came up with was Sub-Saharan Africa had low employment because if we looked at the GDP in Sub-Saharan Africa, it was really low compared to regions like North America, Oceania, even South America. The third conclusion I came up with was Western Europe was more developed than Eastern Europe. So if we look here, we see a darker side on Western Europe than we do Eastern Europe. Awesome. So these are 3 conclusions I came up with. Students' answers may vary here, so your answers may be different. For example, sorry, it's an R. For example, over here, you could have tried to draw the equator, and one thing you could have noticed is that most of the countries that have higher GDP are on the northern hemisphere, where the countries or regions at the southern hemisphere, with the exception of Oceania, is going to be a lower GDP. I apologize, my neighbors, I guess, mowing the lawn or cleaning up the grass. So moving on to question 22, which is asking which demographic indicator tells you most about a nation's wealth. And before I answered this question, what I did was I covered my answer, remember the covered up strategy, and I hashtagged my responses and I put GDP and GDP per capita. Remember GDP standing for gross, not gross as in disgusting, I mean gross as in total. Domestic means home, and what we're talking about here is home country. And then product is how much we're talking about goods and services. Okay, where GDP per capita is GDP divided by the population, which means per person, right? So the total amount of the country's wealth divided per person. So the answers that they gave us was A, population, B, land area, and D, literacy rate, with C being the answer, GDP. Turning the page. So in the next page, you should have looked at a figure that was titled Population Structure by Age and Sex, Granada or Granada, depending on how you pronounce it, from 1991 to 2010. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight or box out the title here so I now know what I'm looking at. We've looked at these before. population pyramids. And so remember, there are 3 stages of a population pyramid. We have developing, developed, and post-developed. Remember, when it's a developing country, it's all about the base. That's right, you got it. Where the babies are the number 1 population, or the biggest part of the population in a certain area. And that's telling us the country is developing because, again, birth rates, fertility rates are going to be high in a country that is developing, not a country that is developed. A country that's developed, like the United States, for example, is going to have slower birth rates because those birth rates are going to be staggering or slowing down because people are getting an education, they have access to medical care. They're going to be more focused on things like a career, their jobs, rather than just having babies. Where in a country that has lower development, maybe there is not opportunities for an education for women or a job. Therefore, they might just stay home and have children, right? Like Afghanistan, for example, for a while, the Taliban did not allow women to get a good education, and so women, the birth rates in Afghanistan were increasing at a staggering rate. I think they were at 5.6 at one point in Afghanistan. And so looking at this chart, it's asking question 23, which age group in Granada or Grenada had the greatest number of females in 2010? And so what we're going to want to do is go back, sorry about that, go back up and make sure we're looking at the right chart. Okay, and we're looking for females. And we're looking for the largest age group, and I can see right away the 20 to 24 age group is going to be the largest here at 10%, 11%, right? So I'm going to go back to my answer choice and see if the answers match my answer. So I see 10 to 14, that is incorrect. 15 to 19, incorrect. I see 20 to 24, that is correct. 25 to 29, incorrect. So the answer was letter C. Okay. Okay, I did a bad job of showing this, but make sure you are highlighting and annotating the question. So it's asking about the country of focus and the year 2010. Okay, it's also asking about females. Okay, so you want to make sure that you looked at the right side of the chart. Number 24 is asking which of the following groups in Granada had the greatest, or Grenada had the greatest population in 1991. So it's asking just in total population, not just one gender or the other, total population. So in 1991, which part of the population was the biggest? So now we're looking at this side of the chart. Okay, and again we're seeing it's all about the base. Lots of kids here, 5 to 9 years old. They seem to be the biggest, right? So let's go ahead and see if our answers match. Oh, look at that. None of the answers match my answer. I had 5 to 9 years. But that is not the answer because they give us specific answer choices to choose from. So now we have to do trial and error. So let's look at number 1, letter A, 40 to 44. So at 40 to 44, we're about here. Then 45 to 49 seems to get smaller, so that one's out. 50 to 54, out, gets even smaller. And 55 to 59, even smaller, leaving letter A as my answer choice. Okay, so this is another strategy, process of elimination. Number 25, what is the relationship between the number of males and females? The relationship between the number of males and females in the age group 65 to 84 in 1991 and 2010. Okay, so 65 to 84 and both charts, and it's the relationship between males and females. So we're looking at 65 to 84, so we're here. So I'm just going to analyze this part of the chart here. and see what I can come up with. And one thing I can see right away is that the right side of the population pyramid here is a bit bigger than the left side, and that means there are more females at this age group than there are males. Females than males on both charts. Okay, so let's go down to our answer choices and see if there's anything that matches my conclusion. It says there are more females than males on both years. That is something I did come up with. There are more males than females in both years. That is incorrect. There are more females than males in 1991 only. That is incorrect. It's true for both. In 2010, there are more females than males as well. And then letter D popped up over here. I apologize. And it's saying there are more males than females in 2010, which is completely wrong. We know that there's more females. I just said that, right? Letter A is the answer you should have gotten for question 25. Awesome. Moving on. 26 is asking which of the following is true. So here we should be practicing the true and false method. I taught you this when we were back in session, back in actual physical school. And so for each one, you should put T or F for the answer choices. So there was a greater percentage of children age 0 to 4 in 2010 than in 1991. So going back, 0 to 4 is about 7%. 2010, 0 to 4, no, it was 13 and 12%. So no, that is actually incorrect. Answer choice is false, right? Letter B, excuse me, is saying more males survive into old age than females. That is completely false. We determined that the last answer choice we gave with number 25, we determined that there are more females than there are males in the elderly ages. Women live longer. Letter C, the population of 20 to 24 years of age was larger in 2010 than in 1991. We actually determined that earlier when we looked at number 23, so this is actually true. Okay, but let's make sure this is completely true and look at letter D. Let's be thorough, 100% every day, no excuses. In 2010, there were fewer 15 to 19-year-olds than 20 to 24-year-olds. No, we just said that was not the case. The answer was letter C. Number 27 is asking what has happened to the fertility rate in Grenada from 1991 to 2010. And if we look at the population pyramid, it's going from 14 and 12% 0 to 4-year-olds to 7% 0 to 4-year-olds. So it's actually decreasing by half. So the fertility rate in Grenada is decreasing, which actually means the country is becoming more developed. Okay, labor force by occupation. This is where we learned earlier in the year in the 3 economic sectors. Okay, so if you did not draw this somewhere on the site, please do so at this time. This is just a quick review. At the top, we have the tertiary sector, which is going to be the services sector. This is where you want most of the people working because this is where you make most of the money, but it does require most of the training. Then we have the secondary sector. This is where you make products, okay, with the raw materials you extract from the primary sector. Okay. This again is where you fish, farm, mine, forest, with logging. You dig things out of the ground to be used in the secondary sector. Then in the tertiary sector is where it's being sold, where the consumer and buyers are coming together. And so what's asking here for 29 is which country has the most population, or 1/3 of their population, working in the services sector. Hashtag tertiary. We want to use our academic vocabulary here.